All right, welcome everyone. Those of you that are here in the room with us live, but also those joining us asynchronously watching the recording back. This is, of course, a presenter services session for all things industry partners. And so as was dictated and promised in the session abstract, this is very much going to be a space for us to talk around the industry partner-led and co-facilitated sessions. And we will talk through, as a reminder, about what the sessions are, give you some insight into what we're hoping out of each of those sessions. And if you've been to one of these presenter services before, of course, our major goal is to answer any and all questions that you have bringing to the table today. So if you're joining us into the future, you know how to reach us. So likewise, if your question is not answered here live in this recording, please reach out and we'll take the time to answer them. As is tradition with our sessions, we do like to do a little bit of Zoom housekeeping. So we are going to move through this. Never want to assume that you are familiar with Zoom and how to use it. So the chat is there. You can already see it is active. We have done a prompt for those of you that joined us a little bit late, or even right on time rather, which is that if you could use that chat to let us know specifically what session type or types that you are here for to receive support around, that would be really helpful, just so we can see who's in the room. In addition to that, feel free, we already know it's hot in Alabama, for instance. Let us know where you're coming from. Maybe something fun along the way. No sense in not using the chat for some community building and just saying, hey, especially if you know someone else in the room. Otherwise, we are going to ask you to remain on mute. No worries if something happens and you can't get to your mute button. We do have access as co-hosts here. It's myself, my colleagues, Katie, Angela, and Jill, to mute you. And just know that if we do that, it's not to silence you, it's to silence whatever distraction is in the background, making it harder for folks to engage. But we'll have your back there and be able to support you in that way. There's a few ways. So along the way, if you have questions, the chat is absolutely a space where you can do that. We have an active plan to monitor that. We'll also be able to see if you do want to use the raise hand icon, which can be found by navigating to the reactions button on Zoom meetings control bar. Please feel free to use that as well. And we'll be monitoring the actual grid view as well. So we'll be able to see if folks have raised their hands. We prefer that you use one of those two methods to ask questions as opposed to strictly hopping on mic and risk interrupting. And we'll promise we'll be able to monitor those. And if by chance we get through and we're trying to answer through a Q&A and your question gets lost and we don't happen to circle back to it, please feel free to drop that in the chat again. That sometimes does happen if we have a really robust chat session. We do have a fairly small room though, so that might not be something we have to navigate, but just in case, never hurts to repeat a question in that chat. Lastly, we do have live closed captioning. Feel free to utilize that on your end as is helpful. And we are, of course, recording this, so we'll make that recording available to you on the back end. I am going to pass things over briefly to my colleagues, but definitely welcome everyone into the room. I'll introduce myself and then pass it on to Angela Gibson, who can also introduce the rest of the team and kick us off here. But I'm Maddie Schroeder, and I'm Director of Online Engagement with the OLC and have the privilege of working with these wonderful other four colleagues. Christine Hinckley is unable to join us this evening. So if you saw her anywhere on the invites, she's still there, but hanging around. So, but we have a fantastic team here to help you. So I'll pass over to Angela Gibson to finish introducing everyone and we'll get started.
Hi, hello, this is Angela Gibson and I'm faculty at Texas A&M University Kingsville. Also, I am chair for the presenter services component of the OLC Accelerate 2021 conference. So I'm very glad to be here. Also, we have Katie Schuster, who is our Director of Conferences and Events, and you probably have seen her name many, many times. So please give her lots of support and love, as well as our wonderful Jill Garrity, who is probably in communication with you regularly, and she's our manager for conferences and events, and we're very excited to have this panel to help you today. And back to, is it Maddie or Jill?
Me.
Sorry, it's over to Jill. Sorry, apologies.
No worries. Thank you, Angela, and welcome to everyone. And yes, you've probably seen at least 1 or 1,000 emails that came from me. So thanks to you all for being so responsive and for joining us today. I just wanted to briefly go through our agenda, and then we'll start moving through all of the wonderful information that we have for you all today. We are going to just talk briefly about our industry partner session types. give you all some logistical tips for presenting at the conference, some technology tips, and probably the one thing that you're most interested in, some strategies for engagement. So to kick things off, we will talk just briefly about our industry partner session types. For our industry partners, we have two types that all of the industry partners for Accelerate have as far as sessions. You all have at least an industry showcase session, whether that be virtual or on-site or both. And then everyone has an Exposition Foundry asynchronous session. I know there are a handful of folks in the room that are part of our Titanium and Diamond sponsor groups. And those sessions that those folks have are networking coffee talks, which are virtual only, and then the Exposition Foundry Live, which could be virtual on site. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the networking coffee talk and the Exposition Foundry Live today, just because the folks who have those are limited. But if anyone is interested in additional information about those two session types, please do feel free to reach out to me or to Maddie. If you need help developing your session, we can get you connected with the right folks that can help you do that. So for our industry showcase sessions, the goal is showcasing or demonstrating specific technology features or services. This is the type of session where you want to share with attendees how a new technology product or service can support their institutions. Usually these are offered with a co-presenter who's an academic partner. It's an excellent opportunity to highlight the solutions or products that your organization offers to enhance online learning and solve issues within their partner institutions. They typically follow one of two formats. They're either a demo or a presentation. The presentations are intended to be real end user case studies to show the attendees how to solve everyday campus-wide and classroom-based challenges, or demos that are designed to introduce and promote new technologies, applications, and innovative new products. The Exposition Foundry Asynchronous, which I think is going to be a hot topic today, these sessions provide an opportunity to engage attendees in collaborative content or activities that are outside of a product or service showcase or sales pitch. For these sessions, you will pre-record your session and upload into PlayPosit using the link provided to you via an email with the subject line, OLC Accelerate Asynchronous Presentations and Presenter Services Resources. So I'm not exactly sure whether that's gone out or not yet. Maybe Katie or Maddie can reference that. But we will talk about the logistics of the sessions shortly. But first, before we get to those specific session details, I'm going to turn it over to Katie for some general presenter logistics.
Great, thank you so much, Jill. I will confirm that the email that reference to presenter services resources did go out last week. So if you're listed as a presenter in our program, you should have received that last week. The first thing I want to make sure that we are talking about in terms of logistics, and something that's really important to know, especially for those of you who are presenting one of our virtual sessions during that week in September, is that all of the session times on our website and in our program are listed in US Eastern Daylight Time. So that's UTC -4. So we've in the past had a couple of times where folks got mixed up in their time zones, but do mark your calendars for Eastern Daylight Time. And that's the times on the website are listed in that time zone as well. Secondly, our presentation file uploads or our PlayPosit presentations are all due September 10th. Please note that you can continue to refine your presentations as long as you're not an Exposition Foundry asynchronous session type after this date, but we do ask that you have the majority of your presentation loaded into PlayPosit for those Exposition Foundry sessions, or uploaded into the conference management system for all those synchronous sessions by this due date. One of the ways, if you need more time after that September 10th due date, one thing that I would recommend is actually using a Google link for your presentation, whether you build it in Google Slides or a Google document or something like that. And that way that link stays the same, but you can continue updating that content. So that's kind of a little workaround if you need more time after that September 10th for those synchronous sessions. The Exposition Foundry asynchronous sessions, that September 10th date is a little bit more carved in stone because we need to be able to then make a copy of your presentation and move it into the attendee venue as well. So just a note also that when you are conducting your presentation, you will be sharing your screen while you're presenting from your local copy of your presentation on your computer. The uploaded copy is strictly for attendee access and accessibility. And next, we'll talk briefly about how to upload your presentation file to the conference management system. So we do have a video that was created by one of our presenter services teams, and I'll throw the link there into the chat, and that walks you through the whole process. As well, you can see from this slide that basically you'll go to your conference profile from your main OLC profile. And once you're in that conference management system, you'll click on My Sessions in the upper right. And then next to your session, you'll click on the edit link, and then you'll be able to upload files to your session. Make sure you scroll down and click Save. Now, if your PowerPoint or other file is too big, we do recommend that you save it as a PDF, or again, throw a link into a Google document or something like that. Use Google Slides, and that would help with that size factor as well. Now, just a reminder that doing this is really important to help our audience with accessibility, preparation, technical difficulties, and also provide that one-year access that our conferences provide. All right. Next, we'll want to make sure that we're encouraging attendees to submit session evaluations. You'll want to end your presentation with the session evaluation slide and encourage attendees to submit the evaluations for your session. Each live virtual presentation will have this slide included in the closing slides. For those asynchronous and on-site sessions, we encourage you to add this slide to the end of your presentation, whether that's in PlayPosit or you're working from a slide deck if you're presenting synchronously on site. You can download that slide from the presenter services page as well, and I'll throw that link into the chat for you also. We do encourage attendees to fill out evaluations for every OLC Accelerate session that they attend. And this is not only valuable information for you as a presenter, but it's also important for us as an organization and helping us plan for future conferences. Additionally, we do offer prizes for the evals submitted. So there's a prize drawing for that as well, to try to encourage people to fill those out. Okay, and we are here to help you spread the word about your session. There is a presenter promo kit on our website, and let me grab that link and throw that into the chat as well, so that you can reference that page. If you want to we have images and sample copy that you can use to share on your social networks so that you can get the word out to your friends and colleagues about your session. All right, so synchronous sessions for our industry partners include industry showcases, networking coffee talks, and Exposition Foundry live sessions. So all of the virtual synchronous sessions are going to be held in Zoom. And we have some links here that you can use to learn more about Zoom if you need to. I know that everyone's pretty much been on Zoom for the past 18 or so months, right? But we'll throw those links in for you if you need help with getting started with Zoom or some Zoom tips as well. As a presenter, you will access your virtual synchronous Zoom meeting room as your presentation room as a regular conference attendee. Once you're in the room, there will be an OLC staff room manager in each Zoom room, and they will promote you to co-host. So you'll be able to share your screen and all of the co-host privileges that come with that. And we are putting final touches on being able to move our programming information into our conference delivery platform. You can expect that information to be available and sent out and shared with all of the presenters about 2 weeks prior to the conference. Okay, so we do ask that you plan to arrive into your Zoom room about 10 to 15 minutes early before your scheduled presentation time so that you can get set up and that you can ensure all of the tech is working. We usually do a quick mic test, screen sharing test, video test, things like that to make sure that your presentation goes as smoothly as possible. As I mentioned, OLC staff will promote you to co-host, and that will enable you to share your screen and your presentation. If there's any sound to be shared, whether you're using a video clip or anything like that, you'll want to make sure when you share your screen that you select the share computer sound checkbox before you start sharing. You'll have both an OLC staff member there as well as a volunteer session chair in each of your synchronous session rooms for those virtual sessions that will help provide support. And the OLC staff will be identifiable at the top of the participants list with the name, with the prefix OLC in front of their name. So I think maybe we skipped ahead just a little bit. Can we go? Thank you, Maddie. If you decide to use Zoom polls, we do ask that all questions and answers be emailed to us no later than September 1st. You can do either single choice or multiple choice with up to 10 answer choices. If that request is not received in time, then we encourage you to use informal polls, either done through the chat or through an external polling software like Poll Everywhere or Mentimeter or something like that instead. I think I skipped the all sessions. They will record automatically, and they will also have the automatically generated captions. In terms of breakout rooms, those requests are also due no later than September 1st. We do encourage you to use a Google document for collaborative work in lieu of breakout rooms if possible. Breakout rooms are not recorded, nor are they captioned. And historically, we have seen what we affectionately refer to as the breakout room exodus when breakout rooms are announced in sessions. You'll definitely lose people that are attending your session and want to lurk. If you really feel like your outcomes for your session can't be achieved without the use of breakout rooms, we do ask that you consider leaving one working group in the main room for the benefit of those who are watching the recording, or provide an alternate activity for those who are watching the recording. Rooms can only be opened and created by the meeting host, and these are the breakout rooms. So, and if you do want breakout rooms, if you feel like, again, your goals and outcomes for your session can only be achieved by using those, we ask you to provide us with those details by September 1st. Okay. So in your room, that we'll have, as I mentioned before, 2 support staff individuals. One will be the OLC staff person. That individual will be responsible for Zoom housekeeping. They'll introduce you as the presenter. They'll also provide tech support and do concluding announcements. You'll also have a session chair, and that's a volunteer from our community. Their main roles are community building, moderating the chat, and helping you keep track of the time. For our synchronous on-site sessions for our industry partners, these include industry showcases, networking coffee talks, and Exposition Foundry live sessions. For these sessions, we have a couple of logistical on-site considerations as well. Maddie, thank you. One of the questions is, we kind of did this in an FAQ format, is the deadline for session materials the same because the conference takes place a week or 2 later in October? The answer to that is yes. The deadline is still September 10th. The reason for this is that, it's more or less a technology reason. But if you were to upload a different file to the conference management system after the date of September 10th, we will do our best to make sure that it gets into the conference system. We're using the same conference delivery platform for both the virtual conference as well as for the programming information for the on-site conference. So while we will do our best, we just can't guarantee that that new file would be transferred into that second system. How do I access my session content? Again, it's the same. Access is the same as for attendees as in our online conference venue. Probably a big question on everybody's mind is about safety and health safety protocols. So this, as I'm sure you're aware, is still very much in flux, and we will update as soon as possible. And we are constantly updating this webpage. Let me throw that link into the chat for you as well. as guidelines change. And so you can refer to that page on our website that will be updated as guidelines change. So if you're doing an on-site presentation, when should you arrive to your room or presentation space? There are 15 minutes between concurrent sessions, so we recommend that you enter your room about 10 minutes before your scheduled start time. That'll give you enough time to test your technology. And going right into the next question about support staff, there are hall monitors and AV and IT staff available roaming the breakout room areas. If you do have a technology issue that you need help resolving, you can just flag either a hall monitor who can then pass the word on to a staff member, or you can flag down with those AV or IT staff directly as well. So we'll get you help as quickly as possible. And then the presentation spaces, what do those look like? How are the rooms set up? The breakout rooms are set with a podium and a head table, and then attendee seating will be in rounds, and we are making sure that there's space for distancing as well. At this point, I'd like to turn things over to my colleague, Maddie, who can talk about and go into detail about those Exposition Foundry asynchronous sessions.
All right, thank you, Katie. All right, so we are going to actually do a little bit of a walkthrough. There's a lot that if you engage with any of the Getting Started playlists, which we will link, you will have seen my face a lot. We have a rather robust support network. So our goal during this session is to walk through the basics, have you any additional reminders that you might need, afford you space for questions, but then really direct you back to that supporting content because there's a lot in there. And you're going to get a lot through even walkthroughs of how to step-by-step how to do these things. But first and foremost, Exposition Foundry's point of clarification for some of you, as Jill pointed out, we have both synchronous and asynchronous Exposition Foundry sessions. They're very similar intent, right? We want to accomplish similar goals. The difference, of course, is that since we have this asynchronous, that asynchronous space, we don't want that to be a static recording. So PlayPosit, really our goals in utilizing this tool. And this is a shift for those of you who have presented with us before, this is a new technology for us, but it will afford us some more interactivity to ultimately meet those goals of having increased engagement in your content. And then everyone else that's running asynchronous content as well. But we truly do want to facilitate dialogue, facilitate a point of connection between you and audience members. They will, as is the case with our other content, be available on the website for up to a year after the conference as well. So that is standard across all of our session types. And this is no exception here. So we have shared a presentation build space. So Katie had mentioned earlier that you received an email. So anyone that's listed as a presenter, and it does sound like we have some folks who are here as representatives. That's all right as well. Know that anyone that was listed as a presenter did receive that email. So that would be a good point of conversation to just double check that they did in fact see that. And if they, for some reason, are having a hard time finding that, let us know. We're happy to send it again. But everyone that was listed as a presenter did already receive that email. What they received in that email was a few things. It was some additional language and content. It was a direct link to access instructions, which we'll take a look at in a second here. It was some additional resources to get folks started. And one of those was even, things to think about as you create a video. So that recognizing that some folks might want to create content first, which we'd recommend, and then build and PlayPosit later. So everything they have to get started, they should already have in their inbox, right? In addition, you really should follow the instructions and follow them to the letter in this case. I'll show you one in particular that if you haven't already jumped into PlayPosit to build, that I'll catch it now because there already have been a couple people that forgot this step. And then hey, I'm having a hard time getting in. I was like, hey, did you follow? They're like, oh, I missed this step. It's like, yep. So we troubleshooted and got back in. So I will just give you that notice that the only issues we've had in terms of access is just not following the instructions to the down to the all the T's, the dots, the punctuation marks, you name it. That there is really specific reasons that just follow those steps and you'll have no issue getting in. In addition to that, once submitted, Katie already mentioned this, but that data is really critical. We, of course, if you submit ahead of time and you think before the September 10th deadline, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's something I really wanted to fix, we can actually help you with that, no worries. So there's no problem with submitting too early. But after that point in time, we really do need to make copies of that and have enough time to get it into our conference management system where folks, the audience, will be able to actually engage with it. Will we be as flexible as possible? Absolutely. But will that be feasible for every single asynchronous session we have? No, right? So that is one of those things that by now, for those of you who have worked with us a while, we'll be as flexible as we possibly can through this process. But that's why we've created the support system we have to hopefully help catch some of that and get you as prepared as possible for presenting. At this point in time, I'm going to stop this particular view because we are going to move right into these access instructions. So we'll go ahead and drop this link into the chat for you all. This is for those who were not on that email, because for instance, you're a representative, you might not have actually received this, but this is the access instruction docs. So what we're going to do here together is actually walk through this live. I'll just call out some of our major missteps like I had promised, but feel free to navigate to that document at this point in time. And then I'm also going to spend a little bit of time looking at that, that getting started playlist together. So we'll go ahead and pull this up for you all. All right, so these are the access instructions. And as you'll see them, the way in which we articulated them is that it walks you step by step how to actually get into PlayPosit. And so you would have received, or presenters would have received this, an email with these instructions. In this document, what folks will want to do is actually navigate to this link. As they do there, they want to follow these steps, right? And it'll step by step walk you through. They'll be able to indicate this is the major misstep. Please make sure that your presenters, or you here who are presenters, are clicking that you are a student. This is a really critical step, and the only misstep so far that we've reached, that we've run into, is folks accidentally forgetting to click that. It automatically defaults to I'm an instructor, so you want to make sure you click I'm a student. So that's what you're going in. We have entered, at least from a functional standpoint, it is technically a classroom space that we've built for you all to build in. So if you do not click and indicate you're an instructor or you're a student, you won't be able to access the class at all. So this is the one major critical step you need to make sure that you and all your presenters that you're working with do follow. Beyond that, you'll be right in. So as soon as you're going to want to create an account, but as soon as you do, you'll see this blue screen. If you do not see this blue screen, something went awry, and you can let us know and we'll help you out. But at that point in time, you will then be navigated to the major classroom page. So you'll see everything that you have technically access to. You want to go through there and find your session type. And so we can take a look at this in a second. But though you'll see a variety of content in there. You will see, for instance, discovery sessions. You'll see the Exposition Foundry sessions. For those of you who are doing a Foundry session, you'll want to go right in there and click that assignment. If you're not doing a discovery session, don't worry about it. Just ignore it entirely. If you're doing a discovery session or somehow involved in one, you might be engaging in multiple presentation spaces. But by and large, those of you here in this room with us now will be only really caring about that Exposition Foundry template there. And once you click that, you'll be able to start it. It'll make a copy automatically for you. So you don't have to worry about making a separate copy. As soon as you click that, it will do that for you. So it's that simple. Just click on it and you'll be in your own build space. And from that point in time, you'll be able to actually edit your presentation and build in there. Okay. We have given you some resources that we've also linked within PlayPosit, but there are YouTube links within this access instructions that are placeholder videos. So if you want to play around with PlayPosit, for instance, or you realize that perhaps there's utility for 10 seconds of video content for you to add other things over, feel free to use these. We've created them for you for that purpose. And so they're 10-second videos. They're OLC branded, so they'd be appropriate for the conference. And you can have those in the background. There's a way, and I can, we've provided resources that demonstrate this, but to just take this YouTube link and embed it right as an added video within the PlayPosit instance. So having those links would be helpful there as well. Apart from that, you don't want to start building. I'd say the one point, and this is somewhat redundant for the getting started content, is you do need to start with video. You do need to start with video. And so that is too, some of the points and the questions that we had in the chat earlier is that are about video content. You very much do want to be thinking about, if you are the lead presenter or one of the presenters, coordinating with anyone else that you're working with on what exactly we want to say and how is that video content going to be recorded. Someone had mentioned a recorded PowerPoint. You could record, let's say, hop into Zoom and have co-presenters talking in Zoom and walking through a session, record it that way. That's fine, absolutely. You could sit in a context like this and just have a dialogue. No matter how you do that recording or what's in that recording, it does need to be video based. You could also share videos. So if you already have video content that you want to embed and incorporate, you could add those videos right within the PlayPosit instance. But crucially, you do need to start with video. So that is something that just to put on your radar as you think about planning and moving forward. Don't leave that to the last step, right? Definitely start planning now so that you have enough time running here between now and the conference. Well, really now on September 10th to get your content in and to build out any other interactions within PlayPosit that you would like. This is another follow-up. There is captions, and we are going to make the request that you do enable those. So please, as you add your videos, make sure that you navigate over. It's right within the video ad. When you dictate that source, that you just navigate over, click captions, and make sure you're enabling captions there. For instance, it's from YouTube. You can also add some captions as well if you have that caption file. You can trim videos. So this access instructions, I'm not going to walk through every single bullet point here, but we've given you lots of tips and tricks right within this access doc alone. So you can trim videos. And then after that point in time, you need to add what PlayPosit calls interactions. So those are going to be the additional points of engagement on top of your videos. So if I were to, for instance, have this recording and then a pop-up pops up on the screen, brings me to something else, or gives me a choice or a decision, or gives me additional content, all of those would be considered interactions within the PlayPosit space. In addition to that, we have given some other things. So we're going to move over to the Getting Started playlist. In the meantime, are there any, I saw the chat going back and forth. Are there any questions that would be good to take a quick pause point and answer at this point in time? Let's see here.
Maddie Haifa is having some trouble with accessing the PlayPosit. Would you like to connect with her at the end of the session or afterwards? Or
yeah, let's do it. Let's do it at the end if that's all right. And we'll see how much time we have. But if you'd be willing to stick it out, we might be able to actually troubleshoot live with you at the back end.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. And if not, what we'll do is make sure we already have your email, but we'll make sure to follow up directly via email right after this. All right. Thank you for that, Angela. All right. Let me know if there are any other questions along the way, and Katie and or others do just ping me if something comes up. We're going to look over at this Getting Started playlist. It is linked right from the access instructions. We will copy this and drop it in the chat as well, because it is open and you're able to access it. Even if you're a representative, you can hop right in there right now. And so feel free to reference that. If you want to get more well-versed in PlayPosit to support your presenters, you could watch that entire thing and be very well-versed in PlayPosit and even some of the engagement strategies they can utilize. So we're going to hop over there. And one of the things I do want to point out is that, as I said earlier, we have a very robust support system here. There are hours worth of content that I recorded for you. And so if you're looking for that, like the actual walkthrough, you'd want to go into this first bulb. That's what they call individual pieces of content in PlayPosit, are bulbs. And if you were to do that, you'll see that I'll just show you here as we go that I am walking. Oh, of course, it's not going to let me fast forward right here live. Yeah, hours of my face. That's exactly right. But you'll spend a lot of time with me, and I walk you through in this particular one, everything that's in this playlist. If you were to go back and navigate accessing your PlayPosit builds, this walks you step by step through all of those steps that we just talked about. So if you want to see someone doing it live, I'd recommend you go to the second bulb, because I will walk you through that from a participant or from a presenter standpoint, what it's actually like to go through that process, which sometimes folks, they prefer that rather than a step-by-step in a Google document. It's nice to see someone do it in a screencast. So apologies about that.
And this is an example of what happens when your dogs decide to break into the session. It's definitely an example of what happens when you're presenting virtually live. And you always need to have a backup in case the UPS truck comes by and the dogs want to tell you about it. Therefore, as Maddie is corralling the very active pups, exactly, dog wrangling. I'm surprised mine haven't started yet either, because UPS has come by a couple times. Katie, did you want to take over for the PlayPosit, or are we at a good point to move into?
I am back.
Oh, there's Maddie.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was stalling.
I know I could hear you along the way. I took you all with me to go lock my dogs downstairs because we have some work happening on the street. But thank you for that. If you do, a great point that Angela made, always have a backup plan just in case. So we have multiple facilitators that can support that work. But moving through, we wanted to quickly just highlight what else is in here, right? So that you all on your end have a better understanding, either as presenters or as representatives or as educational partners, what's in here. So in addition to that, there's general PlayPosit tips and functions. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, that this is a whole new tool, how do I possibly figure out how to use it? This is the bulb for you. So this is the content, the general PlayPosit tips and functions. I walk you through some of my favorite features. I walk you through the features you'll have access to. I gave you some really critical tips and tricks. For instance, one of my first PlayPosit builds, I had a video, I put in all these interactions, and then I was like, you know what? I think I want another 2-minute video at the front end. I'm just going to drag and drop. And it's really easy to add more video. It's really easy to drag and drop video and rearrange your video content. What PlayPosit does, though, and doesn't tell you right off, is that your interactions are time aligned, not to the individual videos, but to the point in the session. And this is a really big lesson that I learned that I'm now imparting to you as advice, both here live and in this recording, but also in this content. And there's a whole lot more tips where this is coming from, because I learned the hard way of playing around myself. But I had all these interactions and I thought, well, if I just add this 2-minute video up top, it'll just shift everything. It didn't shift everything. It shifted my video content, but all of those nicely timed interactions stayed right where they were. So my biggest recommendation for you all is to actually plan that. Have a plan for not only what video content you want in there, but also what interactions you want and where. And it might sound like, kind of a pain at the front end, but if you actually plan for those, then it'll actually help the build process a whole lot on the back end. And so you can collaborate on those prompts, collaborate on the content, get everything ready. And then the actual build and PlayPosit goes extremely quickly once you have all that content ready to go. But that would be the bulb if you want to actually learn about how to use PlayPosit once you're in there. It's going to be the general tips and functions. I think it's about 48 minutes long, and I walk you through a lot of things. If you're thinking there's no way I'd want to listen to the whole 48 minutes, no worries. I use some of the best PlayPosit features, like the table of contents, for instance. We'll go in here and I'll demonstrate this. But you can see right off on the left side, there are jump points. So if you want to know how to edit your interactions, if you want to know more about multiple choice questions, if you want to know about how to delete an interaction, you can actually use that table of contents to quickly scan these bulbs to get to the exact content that you want. Okay, so I gave you a little bit of better support and scaffolded that in there so you didn't have to scan or sift through 48 minutes worth of content to try to find the answer to the question you're looking for. In addition to that, we are asking that you create a title slide. This is really important. This will help us and all of your attendees know that they're in the right space and that you are, in fact, the session that we're looking for. So this is really going to be important. We're going to ask each of you to do this. And this walks you through step-by-step how to actually do that for your sessions. Okay, so you're going to want to follow that. We do talk about what happens when you submit your session. That is easy, but in case you're having a hard time figuring that out, I'll walk you through that here. I did give you some engagement strategies. So as you all know, our goal is to have this not be a static recording. It'll be awfully boring if your audience just sits there and listens to you talk for 15 to 20 minutes. And so in this context, follow, be inspired by these. You can take all those ideas, right? It's our gift to you to help you have a more engaging strategy or a more engaging session. But in addition to that, these strategies offered here might help you think, oh, this is a cool thing I can do with PlayPosit as well. So if you have ideas, please feel free to use them well beyond the strategies we shared there. If you're looking for an experience of, well, what is it like to actually engage in these types of sessions or these interactions, play around with this model, OLC asynchronous presentation. What that does is walk you through from the student side, what it would be like, or as an audience member, to engage in these different types of interactions like multiple choice, discussions, and the like. And I would encourage you, if you are going to play around with that, try it out, like actually respond to the questions. They're fun. We will do nothing with the data on the back end, but please feel free to use that and to play around with that from the user side so you can better understand that experience. There is a video recording tip. So this was sent directly via email. But in addition to that, we give some tips and tricks like how to, have a backup plan in case your dogs bark, to lighting, to audio, you name it. We actually walk through some of those variables in case you're not really comfortable or maybe overly familiar or feel like you have that experience in presenting virtually, or perhaps you're looking for new tips and tricks. We do give some things to think about there. And I actually show you some of that live with even my simple setup of what happens if I'm presenting at night with no lights, right? Like what that looks like versus 2 lamps that I have. And I don't have a fancy setup, which I make that point, right? So no worries if you don't. And then there's just a playlist with additional resources. So there is a lot here for you, and it should answer the majority of your questions. And what our ask is going to be of you is to actually leverage this playlist. Do that first, scan it, go through what we have using those table of contents as well throughout each video. And that will help serve as an initial guide. And if beyond that you have questions, absolutely let us know. But do take the time to scan this, because there's going to be a lot in there that can help you along the way as you prepare. So I'm going to take a pause point. Do we get any other good questions that we should address at this time? If not, we can advance in the presentation.
It's a good question from Maria in the chat. She's asking if her employees can, or someone else can add any of the interaction in PlayPosit, or does it all need to be from her account?
That's a great question. So only one person can be the builder. If you watched any of those videos, you would have heard this metaphor, but I use the metaphor of like making food. I think I use the sandwich, but anyone can contribute ingredients, but at the end of the day, one person has to put that sandwich together. So you'd want to dictate whoever that lead presenter is. And it could be, if you were dictated the lead presenter, Maria, but you want someone else to actually do the PlayPosit build, that's fine. Any one of you could do the building work.
Great. So I can I'm planning to record the video, but I'm perfect. Like seriously the busiest week of our lives right now.
Yeah.
I don't have time to add all the PlayPosit stuff before September 10th. So if I can delegate that to somebody else, then I'll just have her upload the video and do the interactions.
Yep, absolutely. And you'll see that if we wanted to take the strategy, for instance, of let's say we were to let's say there were 30 of us in this room and we were to do recording clips. We could strategize that, get in a meeting together, do different recordings, start the recording, pause or stop the recording and be like, okay, your turn next. Have that all done. You could have recordings from 8 different places, you name it. So long as you all are doing your job and collecting and curating those as a team, and have that plan so that one person that is building knows how to put it in, you'll be great. And you'll see from that, the video content, particularly the basics of, I can't remember what I called it, but the tips and tricks, the general ones about general PlayPosit tips and functions. It is very quick and very easy to build. So you do see me do that on the fly in some of these videos, and you'll see how quick it is. Just be on the same page and have all the content ready to go, and whoever is building will feel like it's no big issue.
Can I jump in with an additional item there, Maddie? So I put it in the chat, but it's really important for us to be able to match up your completed bulb with your presentation listing, right? So if you're designating a staff member to put those interactions into your PlayPosit and using, their email address or something like that, it's extra important. Maddie already mentioned the title slide, but it's extra important in that case to have that title slide and have that title on your title slide match the title of your presentation that was submitted to OLC for the conference. We need to be able to make sure that we're cross-referencing and checking, okay, we have this presentation, and this presentation, and go through the list and make sure that we have everyone's presentation. We don't want to leave anyone out. We don't want to leave anybody behind. We want everybody's presentation to make it into the conference and be able to be matched up with their submission listing in the program. So that title slide is really important to be able to help us to do that, especially if you're designating a staff member to help you build in PlayPosit.
Right. All right. Thank you for that, Katie. And that is, if you're thinking I might forget that, no worries. I do actually say that in one of those recordings. So it's in there somewhere as well. But yeah, there's a lot in there. But again, if you are missing something, or even if you watch all of the probably 3 hours total of content and you still have a question, please feel free to reach out to us. That is not our way of saying we don't want to answer any questions, but certainly we are anticipating questions you would have and tried to answer as many as possible through those recordings. And feel free to take any and all of the ideas. It's meta for a reason, right? So if you see that I made a move in PlayPosit, you're thinking, "Ooh, that's cool, I want to do that." I did that intentionally to help you all get familiar with the ways in which you can leverage PlayPosit to make your session more engaging. So table of contents, you'll see I put my bio in there. I didn't really do that so you could get to know me better. I did that so I could model for you how to add a bio and the ways in which you could do that. Okay, and I tried to point that out along the way. So yes, absolutely let us know. All right, with that, we have a few more things that we want to bring to the table today, and then we'll open up. As you know, we're really amenable to questions along the way, so please feel free. If you have any others, let us know in the chat. But otherwise, we're going to get on with the rest of this presentation, some of which are these basic tech tips. So some of these are, I want to say redundant, but if we could get you to think about nothing else but these would be the ones, which is why we have them here. But it is thinking about your audio, thinking about your webcam, having a stable internet connection. We can't go, these can't go understated. They're really important. And often they're the things we take for granted. We can't always predict our internet. So we do encourage folks to think of a backup plan just in case. Webcam as well. I'm using my basic off of my laptop webcam. We've seen folks present from their phones, right? Do what you need to when you get to that day. And know that we will be as flexible and as understanding as we possibly can. But do think and just think about this ahead of time. So if something happens, what's your plan? I'm using a really basic headphone set. I had presented without headphones before, and it's been fine as well. I have a better microphone headset. They look like this, but I don't wear them typically. It just makes, I don't know. Sometimes I like to show off my earrings. So I just make that personal choice, and you have the agency to do that. Our biggest recommendation would just be to have a plan and make sure you test. All right. At this point in time, I have the privilege of passing things over to Angela Gibson, who's going to walk us through some additional engagement strategies we just want you all to be thinking about.
Thank you so much. And now I am modeling my dog barking. So not sure if he's so yappy that you can hear him, but he wanted to add to the engagement of our session today. So thanks so much, Maddie. Just want to think about the fact that whether it's asynchronous, recorded through the PlayPosit, awesome engagement opportunities, whether it's a live, synchronous, virtual event, or whether it's a session that you get to present on site, think about how you center your engagement. And we really want to think about how we connect those participants and provide awareness and the conversation on your innovative work that you're doing. It really needs to be about not just let me tell you, but what can we do as a collaborative conversation? And we want to know how, as participants, you can share with us future connection opportunities. So utilize the time during your sessions to really connect and have those deeper learning conversations and talk about the future of online learning. And then you can lead individuals to connecting with you after presentations to talk about opportunities where those types of connections can happen. Next slide, please. So I want you to think about some questions to ask yourself as you're designing out or editing at this point your sessions and presentations. Think about what kind of design would be best used for your type of presentation. What would you want if you were sitting listening to your session? What kind of engagement would you want? What kind of interaction? What kind of information? I really strongly encourage you to practice with your coworkers and co-presenters, definitely for those expectations for involvement. As you can see, with the wonderful group we have here, Katie and Jill and Maddie and I, we're interacting in the chat. We're passing it off. Someone is handling and managing the slides. We're asking someone to move forward on the slides. We've practiced that handoff and that interaction so that there is that constant conversation happening. Definitely practice managing the chat. Not all of us will be able to present with a co-presenter. So think about how you want to set those expectations up for yourself, but also for your participants, having those opportunities to say to your participants, I'll stop every few minutes and check the chat like Maddie modeled, or if you can manage the chat at the same time, or every, not maybe exactly the same time as you're presenting, but how you feel about that interaction with the chat. Also practice any engagement and collaborative activities. I had a great opportunity to be in a session virtually, and they put us in breakout rooms, and we got to the breakout rooms and we weren't sure what to do. So what I realized is that the directions needed to be a little bit more clear or available on a document, but maybe practice with a coworker or a co-presenter or your bestie who will get on a live session with you and practice those opportunities to say, okay, did that make sense? Or do you know what to do at this point? And absolutely do a run through of a recorded environment, especially if it's just you presenting, or if you want to practice handing off with your co-presenters and what it's going to look like on the screen. Or even if you have an on-site presentation, you can still practice on this on virtual screen and record it and then see how that can translate over. Next slide, please. Some other things, and we've mentioned polling and chat a few times. Think about how those, as Katie mentioned, those breakout rooms don't get recorded or captioned at all. So think about that for those who might be watching the recording later. And for accessibility purposes, we definitely encourage you keep that one lurking group in the main room. That is often me, who I'm just there to kind of get a feel for things. And I may not be at a point in that day that I want to participate in the breakout room, but maybe I'm saving my energy for something else and I just want to kind of be there, but I don't want to leave the session. So definitely remember that if you do have those breakout rooms, if you do decide to use those, and if you're doing any polls that you need OLC assistance for, to request those all by September 1st. But I, as Maddie and I think Katie mentioned, maybe Jill as well, we really encourage that collaborative document opportunity. You can open up a Google Doc, share the link, or open up a other types of interactivity that can be opened through a shared link. And you can have that interaction and keep content and any notes or information you want on those docs together. So also just remember that you want to think about what kind of visual, whether it's you're presenting on site or virtually or asynchronous, what it looks like, how to engage individuals with images, with audio, and practice that, because nothing's worse than someone being all excited that they have this music that's going to happen in the middle of their session, because then it introduces their big, great concept, and they hit play and they're sitting there and they're like, they can hear it. And then the rest of us can't hear it because they forgot to choose that audio. So definitely practice that and definitely be creative. And we're here to help. Next slide, please. So one of the things we can definitely think about is not only the engagement during the sessions, but pre-session and post-session, being able to not only advertise your session and encourage people to join in and take part in your sessions, but also as a way to connect with you before the session and also after the session. So you definitely can think about what it means for maybe social media with those collaboration tool documents and other ways to get individuals involved. And again, Maddie and the rest of us for presenter services are absolutely here to support you and offer you ideas with coaching, answer questions, or just be there to say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, go for it. Next slide, please. And again, as we've talked a bit about, especially with technology, always have a backup plan. But one of the things in particular with presenting live, whether it be on site or virtually, is be prepared for any number of participants. We often get a question that asks if individuals are registering for sessions, and typically that is not happening unless it's a pre-conference workshop. So you do have to be a little agile when it comes to, you might have 5 participants or you might have 50. You might even have 120. That happens too. And so all of a sudden your plan for, I'm going to put us in breakout groups and you have 5 individuals, you got to have something backup. And then also think about what will happen when maybe a co-presenter, I had a co-presenter where she lost connectivity, but we also had a backup plan during our workshop, and she dropped out right in the middle of presenting her sections, but we practiced what would happen if that did happen because she was worried about that. And I took over until she went to a different device and was able to reconnect in a better way. So definitely think about what is your your plan also for yourself, as Maddie mentioned, in case something happens. You know, sometimes we have to switch over to a phone. I know that often I'll have a second device open and ready just in case something happens, but always, you know, and be, as Katie mentioned, humanized when things do happen. If that 6-year-old does come in waving you down for that Pediasure because of the illness or whatever, you know, it's okay. Take a moment, take care of that. We'll still be here. Give us something to talk about while you're gone. Or the dogs start barking, that's okay. You can ask, you know, you can go to the chat or whatever you need to. I tend to have coughing fits. So I will say, I'll put my finger up to say, excuse me, get on mute, take something to drink real quick, and then we move on. Next slide, please. So just as a reminder that with the engagement strategies by session types, you may want to think about for the industry showcase in particular, think about what it's going to look like when you're bringing in other members of your teams, maybe to help with those breakout sessions, or that you're the only presenter, but you're doing maybe a Google Jamboard and getting individuals very excited about the engagement. If you're not familiar with Google Jamboard and you want some help with that, we're very happy to help. There's other options as well. Remember, you have a short period of time to give out a lot of information and engage individuals and collaborate with them and really have those really good, great learning conversations. And so always give something to take away if someone wants to explore more. And of course, we want you to tie everything to what our whole intention is with these learning opportunities with online and distance learning and what's happening next. Next slide, please. Also similar for the Exposition Foundry sessions, think about those new approaches that you're sharing. These are definitely those hands-on sessions where those dialogues are going to be created with the participants in the sessions to look at what's happening in the future of online and digital learning. And we really want to talk about those challenges and perspective opportunities in our field and highlight those wonderful research findings that you have and collaborations and initiatives, but you can do this in a creative way. So it doesn't just have to be like, you know, a slide and here's what we found, another slide, here's what we found. Think about the design of things to really engage your participants. And our goal should really be thinking about how we create those authentic partnerships as well as foster student success opportunities in the future. Next slide, please. So again, we are helping you, as Maddie did a great job giving you an idea of how to get to the information if you're asynchronous. Again, there's that link for the PlayPosit checklist, getting started checklist, and everything, all things Maddie and all things PlayPosit. So again, I recommend strongly watching one of the videos as a participant. So look at things from the participant, the student point of view first, watching what it looks like so you can start thinking about building with the end in mind of what it may look like. Then going to Maddie's wonderful, as she said, meta, but the detailed options and examples. And then you can definitely have the opportunity to figure out how much and how in between, maybe I won't say how little, but maybe how much and how in between you'd like to engage with the asynchronous PlayPosit. So definitely think about what it's going to be in that sort of asynchronous environment where you're creating it now and being thoughtful about what individuals may be asking questions about and also what participants might want to reflect on during your presentation. Next slide, please. And because you need to have all the things, definitely presenter services is also available on demand. So here is the direct link to the OLC Accelerate 2021 conference presenter services website where we have downloadable guides for different types of presentations. We have this webinar, this will be uploaded as a recording, but also there's other webinars you can, if you're presenting on site, or if you're doing a discovery session or something other than this particular type of session, we have other webinars that are coming up. You can request mentoring, which is one-on-one free coaching, and there are other guides on demand available. So definitely, and we'd like to give a shout out to our many mentors who are available, and those include Katie, Maddie, and Jill. So we're very thankful. Jill, I just threw you in there because you have been doing it just unofficially, but she's been great. So we thank them for mentoring, but we have experts who in presenting from across institutions and organizations who are that's an example of what not to do with your phone. So thank you very much. And I turn it over to Maddie.
All right, so jam-packed session, of course, but questions, anything we haven't answered? There was one thing that as Angela was talking about engagement strategies, I did want to say, because Katie and I, as we were talking, we're like, we're bound to get a question about this, is if you're looking for recommendations as well around, I'd really like to have a dialogue back and forth with the folks engaging in my session, even if it's asynchronous and you're working in the Exposition Foundry space, that's possible. And I do talk about that in those support resources, and we give recommendations around not only what that would be like to do across time. And so that could be multiple weeks, that could be multiple months. The more you promote folks that attend your session to get into that content and engage with it, the more you engage back, of course, the more engagement they're going to get, right? That can't be one way. But also we strategically have, just so you all are well aware of this, designed time during the conference, both virtual and on site, to get folks into that asynchronous content. And so we will be encouraging that on our end as well. And so we'll be planning a synchronous session to engage in asynchronous content. So think about that, but we did leave some resources. So we're just past the hour. So questions, anything folks have, we do have time. We always leave a little bit of time on the back end to answer any remaining questions, but otherwise, thank you all for coming. I hope this was helpful and that it answers any questions you had on time, but we'll stay in the room. We'll stay here until you all leave or until it becomes awkward enough that we feel like no questions are here, but I'll go ahead just for the sake of future audience listeners and stop the recording.